I'm combining a resin with yarn again, but this time we are taking a dive underwater. Welcome to episode 3 of Resin Tufting. Episode 1 was contrast, episode 2 was emotional. Episode 3, we are taking a dive into an underwater scene with some coral, and I'm excited. Let's do it. I'm starting with the resin this time because we're building this in layers. So I've mixed up some of my Jade Diction Officials resin, who are officially sponsoring this entire resin tufting series, and honestly I am so grateful that they trusted me with a concept that literally did not even exist until 3 episodes ago. Now for this first layer, I'm keeping it simple, just clear resin spreading out a thin coat, but I'm actually using a wooden canvas upside down for this piece, so we're actually working not on the front but on the inner back of the canvas. Once this base layer is down, I start building our little seabed. So I've got a few types of sand here. I've got a coarse sand, I've got some fine, just dropping it in areas. I have a few tiny shells. Again, I'm just like sprinkling everything in, letting it fall naturally because it's meant to feel like the bottom of an ocean. Once this layer is kind of tacky, I move into the second pour. This time we're adding blue because we're going underwater, so why would we not? Just a little bit of depth and a little bit of calm. And while this cures, we can now finally move on to our tufting portion. Now, as soon as I set everything up, I realize I have run out of the primary tufting cloth, which is deeply annoying because in my world, when I plan to do something, I really hate switching plans. Like my brain just doesn't pivot well. So naturally, instead of being sensible, I decided to tuft anyway. I basically took the tiny little leftover bit and flipped it around and convinced myself it would be fine. Do I recommend this? Absolutely not. This is very much a do as I say, not as I do moment. But basically, I roughly sketch out a coral adjacent shape. I mean, nothing technical, just vibes. And I've got my yarn ready. I'm going for this coral color, which is actually called coral. So I'm hoping it's a good sign. And then we just go. We just send it. We tuft. Somehow we might actually get away with this whole no cloth situation. I mean, it's working. Technically, it's not ideal. I don't have enough tension in the fabric, which is not ideal when you're tufting, but honestly, what is even ideal on this channel? We make it work. We work with what we have, we do our best, we show up anyway, and that is exactly what I'm doing. So I've got one coral situation tufted and I am ready squeezing a second one in the corner with whatever fabric I have left. Is it my best work? No, but considering we literally started with no cloth, it could have been worse. Corals aren't meant to be perfect anyway. I mean, they're organic, it's messy. All I really need is some texture to give those reefy vibes. And honestly, vibes are everything. Once I'm done tufting, it is time for some usual tufting admin, which involves a lot of trimming and taking it off the frame, except in this case, it is basically just hanging on by a thread because we barely had any cloth. As I'm taking it down, I realized the fabric is actually starting to disintegrate, properly fraying and unraveling. So I quickly grab some fabric glue and just quickly seal that tiny section just to basically stop all of it getting undone, because if that thread pulls, we basically lose the yarn. So I'm hoping that this little emergency fix keeps everything in place. Then it is time to seal the back with some latex glue. I mean, this is all standard tufting procedure. We coat it and then we wait for it to dry. And while that's drying, we can again head back to our canvas, which should now be ready for our third and hopefully final layer of resin. This is where I deepen the blue, and if I am going to be honest, I went bluer than I meant to, but it's done now. That's just something that happens in the resin world sometimes. So we're just going to pretend like that was entirely intentional and we're going to roll with it. And while I come to terms with just how blue this has become, I want to take a moment to say thank you to Mr. Mikey69. Thank you so much for liking, commenting, and supporting my little chaos channel. I genuinely appreciate it more than you realize. Now, before I leave this layer to cure, I want to give it a little bit of movement. Normally, once the resin hits that tacky stage, you can go back in with some gloved fingers and just gently create like ripples and divots. And I've done it before when I made this koi pond piece, but this time it is night and I'm not going to be able to babysit the resin long enough to catch that right exact stage. So instead, I'm just using a piece of plastic, laying it lightly over the surface and just nudging it in just to get the slightest texture on top of the surface.
The next day.
It is now magically morning and the resin is fully cured, so I can peel off the plastic, and this is what we're dealing with. I mean, there is definitely some cleanup to do. Dare I say the S word, sanding.
No! God, please, no! No!
But before I tackle the resin, I head back to our coral pieces so we can basically finally finish all of these and bring the two elements together. So I'm folding over the fabric at the back, securing everything down with some hot glue, and then comes the trimming. A lot of trimming. When I first started tufting, this step basically terrified me, but now I actually kind of love it. I mean, it's messy, the yarn goes absolutely everywhere, but there is something satisfying about taking a razor and just shaping it down and just turning the chaos into texture. Once the coral pieces are somewhat shaped and ready, I finally have to face the one thing I've been postponing: sanding.
No!
I love the water texture on the top, so that's staying, obviously, but the resin spillage along the sides, not so much. So out comes the sander, and honestly, it was not as bad as I made it up to be in my head. It didn't take that long, so thankfully, it wasn't a pain. Now we are finally ready to make the whirls neat. I'm using some fabric glue, technically, which is obviously meant for fabric, but it's actually been working surprisingly well to bond fabric and resin. So I use that on the back and place our coral pieces down onto our ocean base, and for a moment I thought we were done, but then it looked like it needed a little something more. I at that point reached out for some UV resin. This is Jade Dictionary Fishful's colored UV resin as well as the glitter UV resin. I've obviously got orange here, and I've just decided to experiment. I basically start creating these subtle streaks, almost like veins running through the coral, partly because I wanted more detail, partly because I was just curious. I mean, I've not done resin directly over yarn before this moment, so it was very much like, let's see how it looks kind of a situation, and I wasn't fully confident for sure. So let me know in the comments if you think this was a good idea or if I should have left it alone. If you thought Sky was not going to make an appearance in this video, you are obviously wrong. He is here to remind you to like, comment, sub, hype, do all of those things that allow us to keep doing slightly weird experiments on this channel. And now I'm ready finally to show you our finished ocean coral reef. I feel like we need a name for this. I love the concept, the depth, the fact that you can see through the seabed, like through the resin, the sand, the shells, and the subtle movement of the water. It feels layered, it feels alive, but I can't shake the feeling that something is missing. Like, I can't quite put my finger on it. I mean, part of me is wondering if I should paint the entire frame, like the border of this, orange, just so it'll tie in the coral a little bit more. I mean, I'm not sure. So let me know in the comments if I should add the orange border or if I should leave it alone, or if you guys can pinpoint what is it missing. Okay, maybe I could have done a little bit better on the execution, but somehow I just feel the two together are amazing. The resin captures the movement of the water, the tufted portion captures the textures of a reef, and together they're just better than what they would be individually. I hope you're enjoying resin tufting as a series. I know I am. Leave me comments and let me know what should we do in episode 4, and I will see you there. Bye. If you've enjoyed this video, YouTube thinks you will like these two, so go check them out.